I would say that the only real hero and role model that I had as a child was my father. I didn't have, like you probably have some heroes and role models at school. I didn't have that. What I had was at home. And I kind of had two lives. I had my Mexican life at home with my family, with my mama who doesn't speak English, and then my American life at school. So it was almost like leading two lives. So it was kind of a struggle for me growing up because I had this life at home and I had this other life at school where I kind of wanted to belong to this kind of cool stuff that other people were doing as I got older and started experiencing some things that I had never experienced before. So it was my father who was the role model because it was he who finally lit a fire in me and told me that I did not have to be a farm worker. But that didn't happen until I was almost a senior in high school. Well, again, it was my father who inspired me to do better because I really believe, and this is true in growing up in Colusa, where I grew up in a small farming community where we worked as farm workers, is I never had anybody at school who told me, Ernesto, you're going to be successful, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you have potential to do this, you have potential to do that. I really feel that back then my teachers, and I didn't fault them at the time because I had fun going to school. I had a lot of friends, but I don't feel that I was given the attention that I needed to kind of wake me up and tell me that I can do something other than being a farm worker. And I feel that when I was in high school, and all through school, it was kind of like you kind of get by almost as a C student. They kind of just kind of push you along. And I really believe that they believed that I was going to be a farm worker. Nobody ever thought I was going to be anything different. So they never really encouraged me to do anything else. And it was my father who did that. Hanging out with my father out where he worked one summer before I went into my senior year, I think it was then that he realized that he probably should have had a different plan for us kids, because really for us it was a matter of survival. It's how can we work together to survive in this new country. My father was a very proud man. He would never take aid from anybody. We were here more or less as probably as guests, if you will. So he didn't want to take money from any government agency or anything. We had to make it on our own. But we never really talked about going to school because we were so focused on just surviving as a family. And I think it was then that he realized that he probably should have had a different plan. And it was then that he told me, hanging out with him, he said, Mijo, he says, don't do this, meaning don't be a farm worker. He says, you can be anything you want, but don't do this. It's hard work. You know, you're getting up at dark, you're coming home at dark. It's really hard work and it'll kill you. Don't do this. He says, I know we don't have a lot of money, but try to go to school and do something differently. And it was almost like I was given permission to really think and dream about something else. And it was during that summer, going back to my senior year, that I decided I want to become a police officer. And that's what I started pursuing. And so with his help, part-time jobs, I was able to go to junior college and finally pursue my dream my new dream of becoming a police officer, and realizing that I did not have to be a farm worker. My father has been gone since 1988, and my mom she's sick. My mom has Parkinson's disease, and with that comes a little bit of Alzheimer's. But you know what? She's still kind of sharp. She knows that her son is the mayor. And my father was never around to see me get promoted to sergeant or lieutenant. My mom was. And one of my most proud moments, though, was when I got sworn in to be a lieutenant. I think it was in 2006, I think. And Mom was still doing pretty good. And I brought Mom here to City Hall when I was sworn in, and my mom got to put my badge on me that day. And that was a real proud time for me, to have my mom be here and be proud of the things that I had done to put my badge on me. And she knows that I'm the mayor. And now and then she has some good memories, and she'll have company, and she'll tell them that you know, mi hijo es el alcalde de Santa Rosa. So my son is the mayor of Santa Rosa, and she's very proud of that. Like I said earlier, I almost started living two lives where, in a certain sense, I started feeling a little bit ashamed of where I lived and how I lived. I would never have a friend over the house because I didn't want them to see how we lived. But I enjoyed going over to somebody else's house when I started seeing the inside of people's houses. They had carpet that went all the way to the wall. They had all this stuff. Their silverware matched. They had, you know, real plates and all that stuff, you know. So and what happened to me too, I'll tell you this, is when I got into second grade, the teachers were having a hard time calling me by my name, Ernesto. So they changed it to Ernest. So starting in second grade, I was now Ernest. And that continued on, and I kind of liked it, you know, because hey, this is kind of cool. I'm Ernest now. When I got into middle school, we called it junior high then. They changed it to Ernie. It would just seem easier, so they started calling me Ernie. And that's what I was telling about these two lives. I was kind of becoming an American, if you will, and I had this other life at home that I didn't really talk about. It used to be embarrassing sometimes coming to school with my lunch because in my bag I'd have maybe a little taco burrito with some potatoes or something. And it was embarrassing bringing it out because everybody else had some gourmet food in their bags. They had bologna, you know? And so we never have that. You know, we also have little tacos and stuff. So even then I was embarrassed to bring this stuff out and eat with their other kids. So it was a really hard time for me, and but I liked it. I liked this other life of hanging out with these other kids. Suddenly I wanted to have Levi jeans. We couldn't afford them, so we had to go to Penny's and get some generic jeans, which are cool, but it kind of fit in. Kind of try to hide the label so nobody noticed, right? But you started wanting to fit in. And that changed me over time, even into adulthood, where I never talked about that part of my life. And I did not start talking about that part of my life until maybe 10 years ago. I didn't talk about it when I was working here with the police department because, again, I wanted to fit in. But then I kind of started realizing that's not who I am more than just who I was here as a police officer. And I started sharing my experiences, mostly with students, and I took my name back. I don't care if people still call me Ernie. Some people do call me Ernie. It's okay. But I took my name back, and now it's being proud of where I came from and what I am, and not being ashamed of the house that I had in Mexico or the house that I had in Colusa. It's something that I now enjoy sharing with students, young and all the way into high school, because it's about telling stories. And that's what I would ask you to do is you all have a story, maybe similar to mine. Don't ever be ashamed of it. Share your story because people will learn from it and people will grow from it as well. And one of the things that I realized as probably midway through my career was that there was more to giving to a community than just being a police officer. There was things I can do outside. And one of the things that I learned over time that I still feel strongly about now is police departments typically are like these buildings, these forts where they send people out to take care of our problems. But we don't spend a lot of time as police officers going out and just talking to people and being part of the community and showing that you are part of the community. We often hear a phrase called police community relations. My belief is that the police are a part of the community, and you always have a relationship with them. So what I did is I started getting out of the department on my own, and even as an employee, just reaching out and doing different things. And through that, I was able to join different organizations. I was able to participate probably midway through my career in our Sonoma County Commission on Human Rights. And I did that with Ms. Rosenfield, for example. And I eventually was able to chair that commission. And that was kind of a cool thing. I started joining other nonprofits and other organizations because I wanted to give back to the community. It was more than just working as a police officer. It was more than that. But at the end of my 30 years, it was coming to an end. 30 years is a long time, and I was already ready to retire. But I felt like I wasn't done. I wasn't done yet giving back to Santa Rosa. And at that time, our economy was starting to turn pretty ugly. And I was thinking, what can I do to continue giving back to my community, the community that I came to love? And I decided that I would do it as a city council member, that would be a way of doing it, was to still be involved, to maybe be more involved in decision making of the city. And so I decided to run my last year of work at the police department. I ran for city council, and fortunately I was elected by the voters to do that. So I went from really overnight. Like my retirement date was probably December 1st, and I got sworn in December 2nd to be a council member. And it was kind of a strange thing to go from employee, because I was just an employee, right? And I retired as a police lieutenant overnight to now be almost like the boss. I mean, one of the bosses of the city. It was really bizarre. We have a city manager that works for us, right? And who kind of oversees the entire city. That was my boss. Overnight, I became his boss, and that was weird. It was a weird thing to all of a sudden become my boss's boss. It goes to my story. And again, we talked about stories. You all have stories, so share those stories. And I didn't say this specifically, but when I was a kid, I was sitting out there picking prunes, sitting in my bucket, just picking away. And when I used to daydream and think about my future, what do you think I was doing? I was doing farm work. But I used to have these dreams that I wasn't on my hands and knees picking prunes. I was actually the person who was driving the truck with the prunes to the dryer to take care of that, right? I wanted a promotion. So when I got old, I was going to be a farmer, but I'm going to be driving a truck or a tractor doing something different. I didn't know that I could dream beyond that because nobody ever gave me that encouragement. So my message, and the message I give to students today, is that in order for you to realize your wildest dreams, first you have to dream wild. So you can't put limits on yourself. You have to dream as wild as you want. I mean, nothing is impossible, and kind of setting yourself up for that. It's making sure that you're ready to take advantage of those opportunities, because you may have a dream right now about where you want to be when you're 30, 40, whatever. It may change. That's okay. You know, it's not always linear, because other opportunities or other ideas may come along the way. But you always have to be willing to dream about what it is that you want. And beyond that, you have to set yourself up to be ready to take advantage of that dream. But the most important thing is, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget your story. I know every single one of you in this room has a story to tell. I told you my story. I told you some things today that I didn't think I was going to tell you today. But because I felt comfortable with you, I told you. Okay? I never shared my father's story with anybody, but I shared it with you because it was important for you to understand a story. You all have stories, so don't ever be embarrassed about where you came from. Don't ever be ashamed of where you came from. You are who you are, and people will learn from that and grow from that. So always, always share your story.
Hi, my name is Sana Jaime.
Hi, my name is Vidal Diaz.
Hi, my name is Ismael Gongora.
My name is Andres Oseguera.
Hi, I'm Valentina Salazar.